Today's video is brought to you by Angela's online store. Angela runs an Etsy marketplace store where she sells custom t-shirts, vinyl decals, custom woodwork, sublimation license plates. Angela's been on the store now for about a year, has well over 3,000 sales and a 5-star rating. I'll put a link in the description to Angela's store. You should definitely check it out. She's got some great deals and is running sales constantly. I want to thank Angela's online store for sponsoring today's video. In this video, I'll be making a flag memorial case for an Air Force veteran. The woods used on this will be hard maple and cherry. Here I'm cutting the boards down to size. And now for the cherry. The cherry is 7 1/4 inches wide. It'll eventually be ripped in half over on the table saw. Alright, some of you may recognize the Fisher's Wood Shop push stick there, made out of walnut. Big fan of his show. If you like that push stick, he's got those plans to make that for free on his website. Alright, now as I mentioned before, I'm ripping the cherry in half. Those boards will eventually be ripped again, which I'm about to do right here at 0.7 inches. There'll be 3 strips of the cherry and then 2 strips of the maple. And now the maple. I found that the cherry maple mix makes a really good contrast to make it look like the red and white stripes of the American flag. Okay, so once you've got all 5 strips cut, if you've milled them up properly, it'll really pay off now. It's still important to try to alternate the wood grains. Go ahead and get them glued together, get it set up, and get ready to move on to the next step. And while I'm waiting for the glue to dry on the stripes panel, I can go ahead and get ready on this maple piece. Cut it down, it'll make the 3rd side panel, and get it ready to be stained and then ready for engraving. Now I need to stain the maple piece that I just cut blue so that the CNC, once it engraves, will leave the stars with the white appearance. Typically use the Minwax wood finish stain. It's kind of misleading once you see it. It actually looks like blue paint. However, when it goes on, it does go on thin. Give it a little stir here where it's been sitting. Oh, check out those reflexes. Oh well, still got it on the apron. And still making a mess. Alright, so I choose to wipe it on as opposed to using one of the foam paint brushes. I just feel it, I don't know, it gives a better coverage. Seems like the foam brushes seem to get a lot more air pockets, or I have to do more touch-up. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the CNC programs, I use Easel for my software. Set up the star pattern to accommodate the shape of this piece. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it cuts a total of 31 stars. The strange thing is, for whatever reason, instead of doing them in the staggered groups of 3, it just randomly puts a star in the middle of the board, top of the board, and comes back and finishes out where it left off. Anyway, when it's all said and done, the board is filled with stars. The reason I don't use 50 is just because by the time I shrink them down to fit the space, the layout doesn't work out very well, plus they're really small, so just settled on the 31 stars and seems to work out well. So I'll be quiet now and let you finish watching the machine cut the rest of the stars out. Enjoy. Alright, now the CNC is done. We'll do a little bit of pre-sanding here and get ready for the next step over at the table saw. Okay, for this next step, this is one of the reasons why I left the 2 pieces together, because I need to cut a channel in it that will actually hold the front glass. Also, I'll cut a rabbet on the back side to hold the recessed back panel once the flag is inserted and put in place. This channel is 1/8 of an inch, the width of the blade. You can see here, just run the whole piece across. The channel stays uniform from top to bottom. That way, once we cut these 2 pieces in half, guaranteed it's going to line up. And then to cut the channel in the stars panel. Same process, just take your time. And just like that, it's that easy. And looks like I forgot to paint that blue. We'll take care of that later. Now I'm getting set up to cut the rabbet for the back side. Using a sacrificial board there, put it right up against the dado stack. Gonna run that across to create a 1/2 inch rabbet all the way down the back side. And I'll have to do that on both pieces, which will eventually become 3 pieces. You'll see in a minute. And there you have the 1/2 inch rabbet. Alright, now to do the stripes of cherry and maple. Again, you can see here why I still keep this piece as 1 full section. So much easier to work with like this. I learned my lesson after making my first memorial flag case, because I started with 3 separate pieces, then cutting that channel and then the dado cut for the rabbet. After trying to line it up to where the glass recessed in there just right, it was so difficult to work with. So after that, I've decided to keep it as 1 piece, and it turned out to be a very good choice. Now I'm ready to cut the angle cuts, which are 22.5 degrees. For this, I learned that using my crosscut sled with this jig that I had set up, using the boards upright, gave me a perfect cut every time. This seems to be the best way I've found to do it. If somebody has a better idea, please let me know in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions. Now yes, my table saw is old, but my blade is just about a month old, and every time I've cut this angle, it always smokes, no matter how slow or fast I go. Easy enough to sand off. Sped this section up because it's pretty much the same process repeated, but as you can see, it still smokes. Again, this is another area. If anybody's got any tips or suggestions, I'd be glad to hear them. For the 45-degree cuts, those are easy enough to go ahead and just do on the miter saw. I've got a 12-inch saw blade there, so I've got plenty of clearance. One of the few upgrades I've made to my shop so far, and I'm loving this saw. So we're moving into the home stretch here. This piece of cardboard I've cut just to keep the lacquer finish off of the glass. Don't show it here. I actually put 3 coats of lacquer on this, but you can see me putting the first coat and get the general idea. This is whiteboard I got from one of the big box stores. This works really good for the inset panel on the back. Just a quick test fit. Here we have the finished case. The name plaque on the front is an optional service I offer. I do have a laser engraver I can engrave that with. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hope you'll subscribe for my future videos. And in the meantime, thank you for watching and have a great day.